All right, so I'm gonna update my GitHub repository quick tutorial. Um, the last one I did was before GitHub redesigned its site, so I'm just gonna do another one, probably about 10 minutes, pretty quick and easy. Just creating a repo and some basic commands and pushing to it using the Git command line in OS X. So I've loaded up my GitHub.com profile here. I'm gonna click on repositories, and I'm gonna click on new. So once I'm in here, I'm going to come up with a unique name for a repository that doesn't already exist in my account, obviously. So here I'm going to do 2021 GitHub video tutorial. And I'm fine with it being public. And I'm going to check this add a README file box. It makes the process a little bit easier. If you don't check this, you get an empty repo from GitHub, and you have to go through a couple of extra steps on your command line to pair up your local Git init repo on OS X with its counterpart in GitHub. By including a README file, you could just clone the repo from GitHub and skip those steps. So that's what I'm going to do. I hit create repository. The repository is created fairly quickly, and I go into code. Now, if you don't have SSH keys set up with GitHub, which if you are a beginner user, that's probably you, you should use the HTTPS option. My GitHub account has 2FA on it, so I need to use SSH keys. But again, if you don't have keys set up, or if you don't know if you do, you probably don't, I would go with the HTTPS version of this and just copy this URL instead. So once I've done that, I'm going to open up Terminal. I'll bring this over into a new, so you guys can see it. Okay. Now for my students, you know, I had them in class make a directory for coding. If you're in my class this semester, you've already done this, so you don't have to worry about this step. So I'm going to go into the coding directory because that's where all of my class repositories get cloned to. If you know, you should be navigating in your terminal to whatever directory you want your cloned repo to go into. And then I'm going to do git clone, and I'm going to hit paste. And that drops in the URL that I copied from my 2021 GitHub video tutorial repo on GitHub. Again, mine is SSH, but you should probably be using HTTPS unless you know otherwise. And I hit enter. And that is cloning the repo out. It actually created a directory on in my coding folder called 2021 GitHub video tutorial. So from there, I'm gonna just go into the folder, and you know, let's say I do some coding. In this case, I'm just gonna create a couple of files real quick so we can do the next steps. So I'm creating a file called index.html and style.css. There they are there. So now let's say I've done some work. I've added code to my files, and I'm at a logical stopping point. I'm ready to commit and push to GitHub. First thing I'm going to do is in my terminal, I'm going to do git status. I'm just going to get a look at what changes to the repo are looking to be committed. Here I have two untracked files. An untracked file is a file that has never before been committed to a repository. It's basically a new file. So when I cloned out my repo from GitHub, all it had was the README markdown file, readme.md. In my terminal, I went and created two new files, index.html and style.css, and Git is recognizing that those files are new, and it's telling me that they're untracked, which means that they have no history in the repository. I want those files, so I'm going to add those files to my list of changes to be committed. That's what the git add command does. So I'm going to do index.html, and I'm going to do style.css. And I hit enter, git status. When I do git status, I see those files again. It's telling me what the change is, in this case, new file, and then the name of the file. And they're lit up in green. So the fact that they're green means that when I do commit, these two changes are on the list of changes that will be in that commit. So now that I'm ready to commit, I'll do git commit -m, and then in quotes the message that should go with this commit, so that when I'm looking at my commit history in my repo or through git log, I can see the different commits that I made if I need to rewind or check out or whatever. So here I'm going to just say initial commit because that's what this is. And when I do that, it tells me that 2 files were changed, no insertions, no deletions because there were no lines added. The files are empty. And then it gives me the file system details about the fact that it created the files. Now, because I've committed these, they have been added to the cloned repo, the copy of the repo that I have on my my computer. In order for me to get these onto GitHub, I have to push them out. And the push command actually exchanges information between your local copy of the repository and GitHub's copy. And it figures out what changes were made since the last time you pushed, and it makes only those changes. So if I just do git push origin main, where git push is the command, origin is the reference to GitHub. That's where I'm sending the data to. And then the name of the branch that I want to push, in this case main. I hit enter. And looks like it did it. Refresh. There are my files. Now, let's say I delete a file. I am going to delete style.css. Git status. File was deleted. Now, this might seem counterintuitive, but this is a change. I need to add this to the list of changes that I want to commit when I fire my commit. So I want this style.css to be deleted. So I'm actually going to do a git add style.css because git add is not me adding a file. Git add is me adding a change that's to my repository to the list of changes that I want to commit the next time I fire the git command, the git commit command. So now that I've done that, deleted style.css, right? So again, it's indicating to me what the change was and then the name of the file. So I say, all right, git commit deletes style.css. Okay. And I push, git push origin main. When I refresh, the file's gone. I'm going to put that file back. I'm also going to add a JavaScript file and some images. 1.jpg, 2.jpg, 3.jpg. Now, if I do git status, I have an assortment of untracked files. I'm also going to edit my index.html. That's good. Okay, so now if I look at my git status, I have index.html was modified, and then I have a host of untracked files, including an images directory that's got a bunch of files in it that aren't spelled out here. So I could do the work and individually add all of the files to the list, just like this, but I'm not going to do that. See, there's a shortcut for this, which is git add dot. And what git add dot says is look at every file that was changed, created, or deleted at my current directory level or down, right? So the level I'm on now or any subdirectories therein, right? So I have index.html, main.js, and style.css in this folder. And then this folder also contains another folder called images that has stuff in it, and I want all of that added too. So dot addresses all of that. Again, that's from this level down. So if I were to go into just the images folder and do git add dot, it only added the files in this folder to the list of changes. So I want to make sure that I'm in my top level folder here. If I do git add dot, now everything is on the list. And so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to do git commit adds images, modifies HTML, restores style.css. And if I do git push, refresh, everything's there. And that's it. It's pretty simple in a nutshell.